138 pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Here comes Mr. Pro.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his one set on the bruiser. Hulk Hogan.
Number one, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
His opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.
Welcome in to another edition of Retro Wrestling Rewind. Man, this week we are talking SummerSlam in the year 1993. What the hell were you doing back in 1993, Mr. Alex J?
I was 11 years old in 1993. This is the final pay-per-view. Actually, the second to last pay-per-view I would watch from the WWF until well into the Attitude Era. I watched this show and I watched WrestleMania 10 live, and I didn't watch a live WWF pay-per-view for quite a while. I was all in, pardon the pun, on WCW.
What made you switch from the Federation to World Crappy Wrestling? I mean, World Championship Wrestling.
I think, becoming 11, losing Hulk Hogan, which doesn't seem like it seems weird, right? But I was a Hulkamaniac. Shit. There's no Ultimate Warrior. Like, Savage is not wrestling. The guys that I grew to love as a child are getting older and they're not wrestling or not in the top spots. The gimmicks are lame even for an 11-year-old at the time. And it was like, I just preferred some of the newer stars that they had in World Championship Wrestling at the time, especially a young, stunning Steve Austin.
It was a good pay-per-view. It happened August the 30th, 1993 in Auburn Hills.
Before we get into that, do you know what the first pay-per-view I watched back in the WWF?
It was King of the Ring 2000.
No, it was In Your House Final Four. And the reason why I got that pay-per-view, because it was like Steve Austin's first shot to win the WWF Championship, because they did a Final Four gimmick. The last four guys from the Royal Rumble, because Austin had won the Royal Rumble, but he won it after he already got eliminated, but the referees didn't see it. So because Austin was my man. And that's the reason why I started getting back into WWF, because I see a lot of the guys that I liked in WCW coming over. Your Dustin Rhodes, your Mick Foley's, and your Steve Austin's especially.
Yeah, I remember taking my girlfriend, now my wife, back to a pay-per-view at West Palm Beach. It was an In Your House pay-per-view, and it included Stone Cold Steve Austin. What were your thoughts on those old In Your House pay-per-views? They were kind of gimmicky and kind of.
I didn't watch a whole lot of them, to be honest, until eventually they just became full pay-per-views. But they were 2 hours. They were $14.95, and the whole gimmick, the gimmick of the first one is that they would give away a house. Right, that was the whole deal. They're going to give away a house in Florida. I don't know what happened with the house. I don't know if they really got the house or whatever, or it was just a gimmick. Much like the Rolls Royce that they gave away, the Wrestling Classic, I don't know if that person actually got it.
Are you trying to say it could have been a gimmick?
Yes, it could have been a gimmick.
It was a good pay-per-view. They had my favorite commentator, not Vincent Kennedy McMahon. They had Bobby the Brain Heenan. It's kind of funny. Gorilla Monsoon and Jim Ross were there, but they weren't on television, which is weird. They had, I'm looking at Wikipedia, it said Radio WWF. Like, who the hell? Yes. They had wrestling on the radio. I didn't know that was a thing.
They did. It wasn't widely available throughout the country, so not a lot of people got it. And the tapes, because I want to listen to the tapes. I want to hear Jim Ross and Gorilla Monsoon call this pay-per-view. They're not out there. And that's a shame. I wish the WWE in some form or fashion will release those tapes.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things when you go to a live event and you don't hear the commentary. I wish there was a way to, rent, like if you go to like a stock car race or any kind of event, you can rent like a headset or something and listen to the commentary. That'd be kind of cool to be at an event and hear the commentary. But it's one of those things. I don't know, man.
And hopefully, if they did that, we get rid of some of the shitty chants that they have now.
Well, you know what they're going to get rid of? The damn lights that were shining at you at WrestleMania.
Oh my God!
That's beside the point. Worst. But it was a great.
Can we talk about the motherfucking Lex Express right off the bat? I want to talk about Lex Express because this is SummerSlam '93. The Lex Express breaks down on the way to Detroit, Michigan, and I've never, ever in the history of me watching wrestling, seeing someone be elevated and pushed to such a degree, and then nothing happens. My good friend Tom says the equivalent of blue balls, which is true. It's very true.
It's damn true. I mean, why do you think that was? Why do you think this happened? I mean,
I think they pivoted, which is strange because I often compare this push to Roman Reigns' push and Hulk Hogan's initial push, right? And the case of Roman Reigns, everyone could see it wasn't working, but they never pivoted. They just kept on going straight, and he kept on getting fucking buried by the crowd. Hogan, on the other hand, had a longer push that was presented over time. What they did with Luger is they tried to get 8 years of Hulk Hogan's push in 8 weeks, and it was overblown. Now, I went back and watched the prior 6 Monday Night Raws to this show, right? Basically starting a little bit before they did the big body slam challenge on the Intrepid to right up to the pay-per-view. And I can tell you from watching those televisions, oh my God, Lex Luger comes across so disingenuous. He comes across like this is so forced, like he hates doing this. And it never really kind of made sense. So you had this guy who was the narcissist. And he was a narcissist at King of the Ring. Right? He's the narcissist. He was the narcissist the week before he slammed Yokozuna. And he just basically gets in the helicopter and slams Yoko. Now, if you watch the Intrepid special, which is interesting to note, when the helicopter is coming, everyone is chanting for Hogan. Now, clearly, Lex Luger is going to take Hogan's spot. He's going to take Hogan's character, which is very strange because Hogan, if you go over his entire run, he was very patriotic, but that was one aspect of his character. To be completely honest, we didn't really get to see that until like late 84. He's already been in the Federation for 10 months. We don't see that until Slaughter leaves and Hogan's taking on some of these foreign heels, like Nikolai Volkov in the flag match. Then we kind of really get to see the Hogan patriotic side. But Hogan would only be Mr. Flag waving USA when he's facing a foreign heel. Now, we go back and we look at Luger. He's wearing the colors of the flag. He's made in America, Lex Luger. And that's not going to work if he's in a feud with Shawn Michaels. That's not going to work if he's in a feud with Razor Ramon. So you can only program him as this character with foreign menaces, which they didn't have a whole lot of. Now, Ludwig Borga is here, and he wasn't going to last very long, and that's it. You can feud him with Ludwig Borga, the Quebecers, Moriyoko, maybe Giant Gonzalez if you really wanted to. That's going to be awful. So it made his character very one-dimensional, and that was an issue. So they made the right decision to pivot away. They never pivoted away from Roman Reigns, and they just watched him get booed and booed and booed at pay-per-views. So much like they pivoted away from Lex Luger and went back to Bret Hart, in terms of Roman Reigns, they should have pivoted away from Roman Reigns and went back to – couldn't go back to Daniel Bryan because he was hurt, but to someone else.
Yeah, I mean, it was –
most likely AJ Styles.
God, I'm not a big fan of him. I mean, with his –
he's your neighbor, and I understand why you're not a fan of him.
He's got that mom haircut. I mean, come on, like, seriously, dude?
Well, they can change his hair, for Christ's sake. Hey, I'll tell you what. Let's be honest here. If Luger came into the WWF as a total package Lex Luger, you can make a leap from total packages to Made in the USA Lex Luger, but going from the narcissist Lex Luger to Made in the USA was too big of a leap.
It's one of those things. I mean, like you said, it wasn't like many months that it happened. It's just like
it was at the drop of a dime. Now let's go back and talk about Luger here for a second, because this is important. Luger debuts in the WWF in 1992, but he's not in the WWF. He's in the WBF. Gets in that motorcycle wreck, has to get the metal plate in his elbow, but doesn't wrestle. He's in the WWF. He works for Titans. I want to be a dick about it. He works for Vince McMahon for an entire year without wrestling. So not only is he like this goofy narcissist character, he has a ton of ring rust because he hasn't wrestled for about a year. And hell, at the end of his WCW, he didn't wrestle a whole bunch either because stipulated in his contract was only a certain amounts per year, and he was way past that. So right before he dropped the belt, you never really saw him.
Yeah,
but that's
I
a
think
whole
they
nother
call
thing.
that the Brock Lesnar now, but which unfortunately he's the new Universal.
Hey, no spoilers, motherfucker.
He's wrestling tonight on the pay-per-view, so maybe I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, so.
No, I don't give a fuck. It's WWE. It's been spoiled for a long time. Let's be honest. It's like WWE is like curdled milk. You can still drink it, but it's gonna give you the shits.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not gonna kill you, but.
Speaking of something, I don't really understand. Okay, so Owen Hart, he's in this pay-per-view, but is in a dark match against Barry Horowitz. I mean,
yeah, Horowitz.
Wow.
That's what I used to call him as a kid.
Well, why did they put him in a dark match? I mean, he's
not doing anything. He's a fucking mid-carder.
Yeah.
He wouldn't get his push for the next year. He's still essentially high-energy Owen Hart.
Yeah, I mean, it was
Owen Hart being the most coveted free agent of 1988, 89, 90, and 91. And he would have tryout matches and stuff with WCW, but they never really pulled the trigger on him for whatever reason. So he's basically, Coco Beware level here. So that's why he's on the dark match. Now let's talk about the TVs leading up to this. And I want to talk about how TV has changed over the years. Now, I understand that it's 1993. Monday Night Raw is only an hour long. Not live, although they would try to pretend that sometimes it would be live, but for the most part, it's not live. It's at the Manhattan Center every once in a while, but not every time. And they would tape two shows back to back. And you could tell they taped two shows because Macho is literally wearing the same outfit. Now, you look at modern television, it's 3 hours long. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of star versus star matches. Now, on these Raws that I watched in 1993, you would have 3 or 4 squash matches and then 2 star versus star matches. So you would get a Bret Hart versus Bam Bam Bigelow or Shawn Michaels versus Marty Jannetty on these shows, and that's great. But what make these shows impactful is the way they will insert some of the packages for the feuds, some of the packages for some of the vignettes. Some of the vignettes of the guys who were debuting. We saw on TV. I saw the debut of Men on a Mission.
Mo and Mabel.
You know what I mean? Mo and Mabel, who sidetrack on Men on a Mission here for a minute. I listened to rap music in 1993, and Men on a Mission were rapping like it was 1983. Ridiculous. They were not going to get over. Sorry. Moving on. So we look at television back then. A couple squash matches, lots of interviews, and a solid main event. You see main events like Bret versus Bam Bam, Randy Savage versus Doink, but they're all intertwined in a feud. And the way that they wrote television made so much sense. And it's so clear. And it goes from one week to another. And they take their time and they're very patient. Like they did this Randy Savage Doink feud that I don't even remember, but it's done really well because Doink was feuding with Crush. Crush is Randy's friend. Crush gets crushed by Yoko, and he's out with an injury. So they put Savage and Doink together. And then he brought out the midget Macho Boy, which is ridiculous. And all hell broke loose, and it was fantastic. And then you had the Razor Ramon face turn, which is over several weeks, of when he lost to the 1-2-3 Kid. All the other heels started making fun of him for losing to the 1-2-3 Kid, which ended up Razor Ramon gets in Ted DiBiase's face. The 1-2-3 Kid challenges DiBiase in the match. 1-2-3 gets the win. And now Razor Ramon's making fun of Ted DiBiase. And it would lead up to the match here at SummerSlam 93. Everything was planned out very meticulously, unlike television today. Now, I'm not saying that you can go back and put the genie in the bottle. The horse has left the barn, but there's some things that you can take away from 1993 television that you can incorporate in a Monday Night Raw or a AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite or whatever. And the squash matches are very important. And here's why. We all have wrestlers on a roster. Well, let me rephrase that. Every wrestler currently on the roster has fans. So somewhere out there, there's a contingent of Kurt Hawkins fans or a contingent of Zack Ryder fans. And they're not going to want to watch Raw if they see them lose on Raw every single week. It's ridiculous. So you got to have those squash matches that get these guys wins on television. It gets their character over, and it will get their finishing maneuver over as well. And you can take your time and explain who they are, and then once they get to the next level, maybe they're fighting for over a belt, IC belt, or what have you. They're established. Heck, back in the day, I used to watch Superstars all the time. I saw more Coco Beware squash matches when he's squashing jobbers than I've seen Hulk Hogan matches on television. And you can't get any lower on the roster than Coco Beware. He's the barometer. If it's any lower, it's a jobber, and he would win all the time on TV.
Are you trying to say?
So I think you're doing your fans a disservice by not getting these guys squash wins on television against local talent.
Yeah, I mean,
I know people say it'll be boring if you do that. It won't be boring if your commentators are good and your characters are interesting. And right now, they have a roster full of guys who are not over. That's just the bottom line.
Because Stone Cold said so?
Oh, yeah, because Stone Cold said so, because Arn Anderson said so. I don't know. He got a pair of scissors getting stabbed by Sid. It's all good.
I mean, beyond the first match, which we didn't see, we had Razor Ramon taking on a debuting Ted DiBiase in the WWF. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this match? I mean,
Teddy's leaving. This is Teddy's last match. So Teddy's done after this. He wrestles a little bit in Japan, goes to All Japan, tags with Stan Hansen, but this is it for Teddy. He's done. So Razor gets the win, establishes himself as a new babyface, and we're off and running.
Yeah, I mean, what were you a fan of Ted DiBiase's character, or back then? Like, he was great in Mid Atlanta or Mid South. Yeah,
Mid South.
He was great.
Because everyone was better in Mid South.
Yeah, most people. But
no, I like the $1 Million Man. I liked him because I hated him as a kid. He was a jerk, but he's such a good wrestler, such a good promo, and his hair.
Did you hate him because of the promo that he did where he kicked all the kids out of the pool and he was on the diving board?
I think it was the one that got me was when they had the kid who was bouncing the basketball and he was going to make it and Ted DiBiase kicked the ball away. That got me right there. Yeah, fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit.
There was one time they did one of those things, and it ended up being a future wrestler. I'm not sure who it was. I think it was. Oh yeah,
it was Rob Van Dam.
That's just funny and
sucking on Teddy's toes like he was Tony Atlas from Mel Phillips.
Tony Atlas likes to suck toes.
Tony Atlas likes to have women step on his face and get some sexually aroused.
Damn. Could have got somebody to do that at WrestleCon, but I mean, I didn't. Oh well, yeah.
Every once in a while, go watch some Georgia Championship Wrestling. Tony Atlas will wear a shirt of his face with women's feet on it, like stepping on it.
He is weird, but that's yeah.
That's
I know.
your friend.
I mean, he's a good guy.
Mr. fucking USA, Tony Atlas. They should have brought him back to fight Yokozuna.
I mean, yeah, he was.
He was in WCW at this time.
They could have brought a lot of people, to face Yokozuna, but
I didn't buy it. See, they tried to, I guess, ghetto Tony Atlas up a little bit, like make him more street. I guess is the inappropriate word to use for this. It never worked because I never bought Tony Atlas as a thug or a hood. You know what I mean? He just didn't come across. He's too nice of a guy. He shouldn't even never been a heel anyway.
Who could be a heel or was a heel and is a heel in real life? Just guess. My favorite wrestler. Not wrestler.
Just go in front.
No. God. No.
Fuck Zumov? Sam Houston, Virgil. I know you hate him because you don't like Olive Garden because you don't like Italian
Yeah,
people.
you found me out, and I also hate people from Long Island, but that's beside the point. But
A lot of Italians on Long Island, by the way.
yeah,
Very Italian and Irish
you
area
know, man.
because everyone's half Italian, half Irish. Like all my friends growing up, half Italian, half Irish.
God, and this next match, had the Steiner brothers, Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, taking on the Heavenly Bodies, Jimmy Del Rey, and Dr. Tom Pritchard with the man of the hour, Mr. Opinionated Jim Cornette. I mean, it was for the tag team titles. I mean, what were your thoughts on the Heavenly Bodies? I mean,
Heavenly Bodies are on loan from Smoky Mountain Wrestling at this time. They eventually get contracts. I'm not sure if they're the tag team champions at this point, although they very much might be. So they're doing like this talent trade with Smoky Mountain. But I want to talk about the debut of Jim Cornette's, which takes place a couple of weeks before their show. So Jim Cornette just storms the ring kind of out of nowhere. And like you have Bobby and Vince are like, who's that? And then Bobby is like, oh, you know who that is? And then like Vince is like, yeah, it's Jim Cornette. And then Bobby the Brain Heenan goes in the ring, grabs a microphone, and says, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present to you the greatest manager of all time, Jim Cornette. And they embrace and they hug, and Corny gets the big thumbs up from Bobby as being the greatest manager of all time. And then Corny cuts the promo, and he's going to be the American spokesperson for Yoko, and he's bringing in the bodies in to fight the Steiners. He does a little bit of commentary with Vince and Bobby, which is awesome.
I mean, I still find it funny how he was the American spokesman for Yokozuna. That's just
who's essentially American, and so is Fuji, yeah, because Fuji's from Hawaii. His first name is Harry.
Yeah, man.
And Yoko is Samoan, which is the American territory.
It's just it.
Can we talk about how weird it was, the anti-Japanese sentiment in the early 90s in the United States? Not to get too political, but there was a lot of movies going on. There's a Michael Keaton movie where he works for like an auto plant, and back in the late 80s, early 90s, a lot of Japanese corporations were coming to America and buying buildings, buying corporations. They bought the Mariners, that kind of stuff. So there's very much like, oh, the Japanese people are buying all our shit, and we're pissed. And I think that's what Vince was going for here. And it's very bizarre, and it's very like Wall Street Journal type shit, and not very 11-year-old Alex watching wrestling.
I mean, it was. I mean, back when I first started watching wrestling back in the mid '80s, I mean, they did that crap all the time. I mean, they would talk about with the Iron Sheik and Iran and.
Well, I'm not talking about foreign menaces in general. That's always been
talking about Japanese
wrestling. I'm talking about just 90s Japanese, because they went away from using Pearl Harbor as a reason to hate the Japanese. Now they're talking about, the Japanese car industry and the Japanese corporations buying all this shit. And that was that went way over my head when I was a kid. Obviously, I know what they're talking about when they talk about it today. Just like how Hiro Matsuda bought the rights to the Four Horsemen, essentially, and because they did the similar thing in WCW.
That was terrible. That was
the Yamagata Corporation. That was right. They had RoboCop. Was it RoboCop 3? They had that when the Japanese company bought OCP, and then they had the fucking RoboCop fight a ninja and shit. So it's very pop culture relevant for the late 80s, early 90s. And I always thought that was weird. Do you think the Steiner brothers fit in WWF at all? They seem very WCW to be in the WWF.
Yeah, I mean, just their look. I mean, they just didn't.
They didn't change anything about them, which historically, when they change gimmicks, is a bad thing. But I think the Steiners need.
Yeah, I mean,
she gave him a dog, like Matilda or something.
I mean, just at least change their name. I mean, that's what they did with the Brainbusters. I mean, they didn't change their names, but they just at least changed their tag team name. I mean, it was just, but the Steiners just.
What was their tag team before they were Brainbusters? You know what their name was?
The Four Horsemen. Oh
no, they were Harders and Tully Blanchard.
Yes, I mean
they gave him a name and then put him with Bobby Heenan.
He will go down as the greatest manager in the history of this great sport. But and he's a great commentator. But
better than the Grand Wizard.
Yes,
really?
he's better than Master Fuji. He's better than
Lassie.
Yep, he is.
Gary Hart?
No. I'm a
You don't think? I think he's better than Gary Hart. For Christ's sake, Gary Hart didn't take any bumps. Yes, Bobby Heenan's the greatest manager of all time. It's Bobby one, and then tied for second is Cornette and Heyman. And I think most people now would put Heyman above Cornette for the stuff that he's doing.
Yeah,
currently,
I mean,
so.
kind of the I see it. Bobby Heenan's a great commentator. Then I got Todd Pettengill. No, I'm just joking.
Todd Pettengill was never a commentator.
Okay, sorry, a backstage announcer.
Todd Pettengill's a big deal here in New York, so don't say anything bad
What,
about
that
Todd
terrible?
Pettengill. No, he's like one of the biggest DJs in New York City. He's on the radio. He's fucking fantastic. WPLJ.
I'm sure he is. But the Steiners, I mean, they had the tag titles. I mean,
they had the tag because they're feuding with Money Inc.
Money. What are your thoughts on Money Inc.?
I mean, I don't know. Does it make sense? I don't know if it makes sense. It's like you're gonna have the rich guy and the tax man.
I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, you have if the tax guy's in cahoots with a rich man, then that kind of.
Yeah, but why was he a tax guy? Why couldn't he just be Michael Wall Street? It makes more sense that he's going to invest Ted DiBiase's money and then instead of taking away from Ted DiBiase because he has to pay taxes because he's rich. Not that the rich people pay a lot of taxes, but they find loopholes.
I don't know. Everybody that I know that's rich pays a lot of taxes. But that's beside the point. But yeah, I mean.
I think you fucking New York, you know.
God,
no, that's a whole nother.
Geez, you pay a lot for everything, but I mean, Jimmy Del Rey. I mean,
I love Jimmy Del Rey. By the way, the Gigolo, he's fantastic, and when he does this gyration motion, I literally throw up in my mouth, but I love every second of it.
Did you like them better here in the WWF more than Smoky Mountain? I mean,
of course not. That's ridiculous.
But you know who.
That's even a ridiculous thing because the Heavenly Bodies with the top heels and Smokey. Of course, they're going to be better.
You know, a place that someone was not better at in Smoky Mountain was Chris Jericho.
Like Chris Jericho, he was good. He got hurt. It's not Smokey's fault that he broke his arm trying to do a shooting star press, and then he went back to Canada. He was only there for a small time. But those videos are gross. You ever watch the videos with Lance and Jericho?
No.
Weird.
Smoky Mountain, I mean, now that I look back at it, at the time I didn't think it was crap, but like now that I look at it, it's like it was such low production value, you know, the kind of corny stuff they did. But now, back then I didn't give two shits because, you know, I was, you know.
Smokey was like an alternate version of like Continental and Memphis because it's very similar to that. And then any promotion that's going to have Bob Caudle and Dutch Mantels or commentators is going to be good. They had Lance Russell every once in a while. I wouldn't necessarily suggest like going back and watching their TVs. They're good, but I wouldn't suggest doing that. If you want to get a feel for what Smoky Mountain was really about, you watch the Night of Legend shows. And like they bring in names, and you know it's not like you're not watching Tony Anthony taking on Brian Lee. Basically, you're not. They actually have really good matches.
You know who my favorite tag team in Smoky Mountain was? Yep,
the Gangsters.
I just fucking. There was a promo they did when Cornette tried to buy their services, and it was such a racist gimmick. I mean, a racist statement that New Jack said about white people and slaves and ships, and I don't need no.
They were really corny, like he saw New Jack and he seen what New Jack is saying is like, I'm gonna bring New Jack to the deep south to get heat, and it was the wrong type of heat because it wasn't like we don't want to pay money to watch the Rock and Roll Express beat you up. We're just not going to come.
I did hear that. I mean, in some stories that I've heard and read that they did. I mean, they legitimately the fans wanted to kill New Jack and Mustafa.
Yeah, because you have New Jack, he's riding up to the arena in his Corvette with the Malcolm X license plate on it, and they were the original Nation of Domination because it's the Gangsters and it's D'Lo Brown, doing that gimmick. And not that they called it Nation of Domination, but they clearly got the idea was inspired by what they were doing down in Smoky. And New Jack, amazing talker. Not the best wrestler in the world, but he credits the Rock and Roll Express for teaching him how to work. Like he credits them
I
100%.
mean, that's yeah. I mean, I think the Rock and Roll Express, they helped a lot of people. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I think their gimmick, back in the mid '90s, especially in Smoky Mountain. I mean, they were fucking in Knoxville, Tennessee, in that area. I mean, not to sound bad, but it's just like I don't know. It's just there were a lot of racist people in that area, and
In 1993, probably today, yeah. But they were tailor fucking made for ECW.
oh God, yeah. I mean,
For sure.
could you have seen Sandman in Smoky Mountain?
Sandman works anywhere, by the way. I was going to talk about this on the other show that we're going to record sooner than later. I think in 2001, if they brought the Sandman into WWF, he would have been the most over guy on the roster. He is like this weird, ridiculous charisma. Like, look when they brought him in for the new ECW. Now, a lot of guys will shit on it. But when they moved fucking Sandman over to Raw, he was fucking over his shit. And this is like when his body got really bad. Like, if you watch the Sandman at the end of ECW in like 2001 or 2000, he's fucking jacked. Like, he looks kind of like Lex Luger. Like, he looks fucking huge. And he has this weird charisma that works. He didn't need the beer, the cigarette, or the cane. He still would have got over. Guarantee fucking.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely over. But
that guys go back and forth between Smokey and ECW. Tracy Smothers, Tommy Rich, Kevin Sullivan. So there was a lot of guys going back and forth. Chris Candido worked both places. Jericho worked both places. Lance Storm worked both places. So there was really like, it's an ideology. It's basically ECW and Smokey were essentially Paul Heyman's vision of professional wrestling and Jim Cornette's vision of professional wrestling.
yeah, I mean, it was.
And they use a lot of the same talent. Brian Lee. They used Brian Lee. They both used Brian Lee.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a. Yeah, it was definitely.
There's a weird synergy there, to be honest.
I mean, did you?
The Heavenly Bodies came in, and Tom Pritchard's talking about cocaine in his promo in ECW. It's weird.
Yeah, that's weird. It's so different than it is now. I mean, they couldn't get away with half that crap now. So, but
I mean, I think they can get away with a quarter.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
look at the shit they're getting away with on indie shows today.
yeah, I mean, you.
Let's be honest. I mean, a lot of it's more in a comedic fashion, but there's definitely other. You watch some of the deathmatch wrestling or whatever, some of the more hardcore promotions. Yo, they're saying and doing shit that ooh. It's pretty out there.
I know you're a big deathmatch person. I mean, what?
You're a fucking goddamn liar. Why
I thought you said you
liked
the kind of like a CZW. Do you love? I mean, are you a fan of CZW? I mean, because
I'm a fan of FMW. I'm a fan of Big Japan. I'm a fan of the IWA Japan. Modern deathmatch wrestling, if you can even call it deathmatch wrestling. I don't know if you can even call it that. It's not violent. It comes across like guys falling through furniture. Very stuntmanish, right? Oh, we're gonna fight and poorly fight our way to the top of a tractor trailer, and then we're both gonna jump off into this web that we've created of barbed wire. Like, that's not violent. That's very premeditated. Violent is like taking a beer bottle, like where Sabu and Cactus Jack, and Sabu's fucking hitting Mick Foley head with the beer bottle is not fucking breaking. That's inherently violent. Yeah. Current hardcore wrestling, I'm going to hit you with the stick, or I'm going to jump off this thing and land on a table. That's not inherently violent. So it comes across to me like, this is cheese. It comes cheesy to me.
I mean, you're right. I mean, man.
Like the staple gun with the cigarette or the dollar bill, that's cheese to me, because if you're gonna staple gun me in the head, I'm not gonna fucking kind of just let you staple gun me in the head. It's weird that that's even a thing. Like, yes, I know New Jack did it, and I know that Bubba Ray Dudley did it, but they're literally taking elements from what they were doing in ECW and then making that their whole show and their whole shtick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't really like it when New Jack did it, but New Jack made more sense because he was New Jack, and that's what New Jack did. Like New Jack would come up with a shopping cart full of fucking plunder, and he would hit people with a hockey stick and the balls, and it would be awesome. But you don't see that in modern deathmatch wrestling. You would see there's these really planned spots, and they could hurt like hell, but they don't sell it, so we don't know if it hurts like hell. And we've seen it 1,000 times where like, whatever, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've never been a big fan of that. I mean, I remember back when they did the tape trading. I mean, that was kind of big. I mean,
yeah, man, I watched like the King of the Dash matches with Foley and Funk, and the exploding, bomb matches and FMW, and and some of the more, and those are like super violent shit. Like, they even did it in Smokey, where when Kevin Sullivan fucking stabbed the Japanese dude in the fucking arm, and you see him fucking just slicing his fucking arm. Like, that's inherently violent. But a lot of the stuff they're doing today is not. It's like a parody of the shit they were doing in ECW.
yeah, I mean,
That's what it feels like to me.
I mean, yeah.
It's not like a fight that turns violent because they hate each other. It's like, oh, there's just two guys. We're just going to jump through this fucking plate glass window.
That sounds like, yeah, I don't know, that just sounds like it could be inherently bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
speaking of something was not inherently bad, it's for the Intercontinental title, Shawn Michaels, champion with Diesel, taking on Mr. Perfect. It was by count out. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect were so over. Why a count out?
Well, I think they want to continue this feud, but I don't think this continue much longer, to be completely honest. As we all know, you should know, Mr. Perfect called Shawn Michaels the Intercontinental Championship because Shawn Michaels lost to Marty Jannetty. The debuting Diesel in Albany, New York, made his debut by costing Marty Jannetty match, so Shawn Michaels wins the belt back. So now they're having this Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect IC title match, which is supposed to be good, but it's not great. I've seen both guys have better matches. Shawn Michaels, to be completely honest, 1993 Shawn Michaels is not the greatest worker in the world. Sorry. He wouldn't get that title until like 1995. At this point, to be completely honest, I think Marty Jannetty is the better bell-to-bell worker at this point. To be completely honest, and I think he was through the entire Rocker run. Obviously, Shawn Michaels could do the more flashy shit. He had the more charisma, but as a bell-to-bell worker, Jannetty was much better.
Yeah, I mean, I heard he also likes to take things at conventions, but I don't know if Shawn does that. But
He likes to steal at conventions. He likes to sort of like ask people if it's cool for him to have sex with his adult daughter. Some weird incest thing that he was doing. That was weird. But Marty's way too nice of a guy, and he's like his own worst enemy. Like he could have got that push that Shawn got too, and they could have been feuding forever and been on the top of the card all through the '90s. But is Marty liked the party literally, and it cost them a lot of fucking money.
I was more of a Shawn fan.
Well, you like the blonde boys.
Hey, that's neither here nor there. That's just rumor and innuendo. But
it's over there.
Speaking of stuff that's not rumor and innuendo, is it true that that if someone wants to, I guess, get more of your sultry voice and hear your sexy voice and hear your opinions, you have a YouTube channel? That's just rumor on the street. I know I've been.
Everyone knows it's true because everyone that listens to the show probably watches that channel too.
Okay, so if we have a new listener on the podcast, or if they're a wrestling fan and they just forget because wrestling fans are stupid, how do you get that?
Wow. The wrestling fans are not stupid. They might be unclean, they might be unwashed, and they might be sexual deviants. But
there's some wrestling fans who go to conventions, not conventions. They go to family reunions to pick up a date, but that's beside the point.
Who was
Some
this?
people I know in wrestling business, but I'm not going to talk about them. I don't throw people under.
Who are they trying to pick up? Missy Hyatt? Let me find out. Let me find out that you're trying to take Missy Hyatt on the date.
Folks, if you want to,
You know, if you want to hang out with Missy Hyatt, you have to go to one of her Civil War recreation things that she does, because she's really into I don't know if you call it Civil War cosplay. I don't know what
like
they're
reenactments,
called.
yeah.
Yeah, the reenactments. Yeah.
But
She's big into that.
something that I know that Missy's really big into is your YouTube channel. How
Penis?
the hell can people get to that?
So you want to go into the search bar there and on YouTube and type in retro wrestling games. We pop up. We have 315 videos. Please watch them all. Please leave a comment. I don't have bad opinions. They're not
They're
wrong.
just not right.
They're like okay, I'll give you an example. My opinions are not wrong. You can disagree with them, but they're not inherently wrong because there's like logic behind everything I say. So I'm not going to say something that's completely insane for you to be like, you're wrong. Like the facts behind my opinions are legitimate or legitimate enough to make them credible opinions. And that's the whole basis of what we do is not, I'm not going to say something that's inherently false, or I'm not going to be intellectually disingenuous to prove a point, because all my opinions are well thought out. And that's what you get from us over at Retro Wrestling Games. It's well thought out wrestling talk. It's well, no one, I've not gotten one comment. And this is YouTube. This is the internet, people. They're saying, you don't know what you're talking about. Your opinion is wrong. That's not happened. So if you want engaging wrestling conversation, you want something that's a little bit off the beaten path, you're in the fantasy booking or what if scenarios, you're in the history of professional wrestling, starting in 1983, although we do go back farther about that. You want to talk about obscure shit? We talk about obscure shit too. And that's the reality of the situation. So if you like all that stuff, if you like wrestling video games, we're going to review all of them. Ever. Every single fucking one. And I'm trying to figure out how to get the screen from the Tiger Electronics WWF game and be able to record it so I can put it on YouTube. That's how deep we're going in, people. You like the Commodore 64? You got it in television? Hell, you got TurboGrafx 16, Neo Geo. We're going to do those games also, not just your Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Xboxes, PlayStations. We're going to do, if there was a wrestling game on the Apple Pippin, which I don't think there was, but if there was one, I was going to go out and buy an Apple Pippin and fucking play that fucking game.
Man, you're really into those video games.
Well, because I think there was only one channel that ever did it justice.
What channel was
that? To be
that?
honest. That was Joe Yagne's A Fun Time Arcade. He did a really great job. Probably better than I do it, right? Unfortunately, he stopped. And that's where I'm like, he's not making anymore, so I have to make them now because no one else is making good ones.
Yeah, I mean, you.
And plus, mine are longer, and because we go, all right. When it comes to a wrestling video game, right? You could probably only talk about it for about 10 minutes because it's, especially the older ones. There's not a whole lot to talk about. You can't be wax poetic about 8-bit graphics for 30 minutes. So we have a video game topic, and then we move on to a secondary topic. So, for example, if we're talking about WWF Superstars for the arcade, well, that game is based on the stuff that was going on during SummerSlam '89, and we're going to talk about the summer of 1989 in WWF. Or the In Your House video game for the Sega Saturn and for the PlayStation. Well, we're going to talk about it fucking In Your House because you can only go so long. And I want these to be longer because I don't think in 5 or 10 minutes you can get a full understanding of graphically, visually, what the wrestling video game is. I think 20 minutes is probably the least you can go. They finally get like a full, deep kind of like look at this thing instead of 5 minutes of some gameplay and that's it.
I mean,
but yeah, that's the reality of the situation. I got some new stuff coming down the pike also for the channel. In addition, we do gameplay videos, just pure raw gameplay videos. We do them on Marvel Ultimate Alliance right now. We're doing on Fist of the North Star. We're doing the 30th anniversary Street Fighter games. We're doing them all. Fuck 'em.
I mean, folks, you think that they would only cover wrestling video games? No, they cover all video games. I mean, it's not just wrestling video games. I mean, it's a great.
Not for nothing. We did Star Wars Battlefront 2, and we did a roundtable discussion on the state of Star Wars with me and 4 of my closest friends.
Yeah, 4 friends.
I think it was 5. It was the 4 or 5 of my closest friends.
Awesome. How'd that go?
Yeah, it went well. To record 5 people on Skype can be interesting because like the internet doesn't hold it well, so sometimes the sound quality may not be the best. But the way I did it like a hardball. So I would take the topic and you go, and take the topic and you go, and take the topic and you go, and I would have to direct traffic there. But it worked out pretty well. In addition to that, we did commentary on Marvel movies, Spider-Man in general, with our Spider-Man PS4 commentary. So check that out; it's gonna be awesome. Very pop culture-y, the kind of the modern the state of the MCU and modern comic books, and then we talk about Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which is my favorite cartoon of all time.
Your shit sounds really good. I mean, I'll give it to you. I mean, and speaking of shit that sounds really good. I mean, I know you made fun of me and you said it's probably just one person, but I mean, I have been getting a lot of great feedback from my PCO interview that's up on the feed right now. I mean, he was candid and he didn't hold back. I mean, I tried to skirt around some of the stuff, but he was like, "No, I want to talk about it."
I'll tell you this: I don't bullshit people, right? Because I'm from New York, and if this interview was the shits, I would tell you. This interview was really good.
Trust me, folks.
I was very impressed.
Guy, if you've ever met Alex G and you know him in real life, he doesn't mess around. If you suck, you suck. But speaking of stuff
I have no problem with biting someone in the face.
But you know what? Okay, folks, I got a kind of a teaser. We're gonna have another interview with PCO coming up in the next few weeks. But the only way you can hear it is to go to our Patreon page. That's patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. Yeah, I know, folks, you haven't heard us shill or pimp the Patreon page in a while, but you know what? I thought. We have one person that pays every month, and so I thought I'd give them a good listen. But no, folks, if you want to hear the unabridged, folks, I've already recorded a little bit of it, and I'm editing it. It's a really good interview, but it's gonna be up in the next couple of weeks. So just log on patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders. Sign up for the tier. We have the Western States Champion tier. That's one of our tiers. We have the Retro Wrestling TV Champ tier. We have the National Champion tier. And, of course, we have the Retro Wrestling World Champion tier. They all have different benefits, different perks. I mean, of course, if you get the World Champion, you get all the shit. But any of the tiers, you do get content. Like Alex G always says, not for nothing. That's going to be one of the t-shirts they're going to be coming out with. And if you sign up for one of the tiers, can't tell you which one. You have to go to patreon.com/retro wrestling rewinders to find out. You'll get that t-shirt after a couple of months of being on the site. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that the Quebecers, I mean, they were a great tag team. I mean, what were your thoughts on the Quebecers? I mean, they were 3-time former WWF tag team champions. But the funny thing is, in the interview, and you've of course heard, and you probably read it online, that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police were suing Vince McMahon at the time, so that's why they stopped using the Mountie gimmick.
Even I find that weird because I don't know what the parody laws are in Canada, But it's not like the Cobb County Police was going to sue Vince McMahon because they had the big boss man.
I think the
You think the Mountie is trademarked? Like the name Mountie is trademarked by them? Because isn't Mountie like
yeah? I
police
mean,
officer?
the big boss man. I mean, he was kind of a heel sometimes, but I guess.
Yeah, dude, he was like a prison guard who would beat fucking.
But I
inmates.
guess the Canadians didn't want the kids to think that, to distrust the legitimate Mounties. So they said, hey, we can't do that. But if you listen to the interview, at the end of the interview, I have the Quebecers theme song, a little bit of it, and it's funny as shit. But yeah, I mean, definitely go on to the iTunes, the SoundCloud, Stitcher. We're on TuneIn. We're on all the podcast platforms, and just listen to all our stuff. I mean, it's been getting a lot of listens. The King of the Rings up there. I mean, we have so many great episodes. We have a Crockett Cup one. We're in the next next week actually, I'm going to be covering a promotion that if you watch it up on the network, you're going to get shafted. It's ECW. We're going to be covering November to Remember 1995. And I mean, do you think that, I mean, I'm just a guy that just grew up on original music on wrestling. But do you think it takes away from some of the things in wrestling, like NWA stuff? They would take away Sharp Dressed Man that Jimmy Jam Garvin came out to.
It hurts. It hurts. Anyone that used licensed music,
like
it
the
hurts.
Road Warriors.
Right. It hurts ECW the most.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to talk about that, and I mean, it's just it's a lot of stuff that it hurt. But the next match we had on the card, getting back to SummerSlam, we had Erwin R. Shyster taking on the 1, 2, 3 Kid. Your thoughts on the Kid back then and IRS?
Kid's fantastic worker, by the way. Still is. Awesome dude. I was a fan of him when I saw him as the Lightning Kid in Global. He was big in the magazines. He's one of the early, one of the original indie darlings that were out there. So, this match is a offshoot of the DiBiase Razor Ramon match. Obviously, IRS is DiBiase's partner. Razor and Kid are now friends and buddies, and we have IRS getting the win here. Again, IRS as a character is very strange to me at 11 because at 11 years old, I don't pay the taxes. I don't know why this guy is like, okay, he's a bad guy. He says you have to pay your fair share, and I don't understand it. I'm assuming that Vince had a run-in with the IRS in the early 90s, and hence he created
I
this
would
character.
assume he did. I mean,
I would like him better as Michael Wall Street because then you can put him right with DiBiase.
You didn't like him as Captain Mike Rotunda?
No.
Did you like him as Syracuse Mike Rotunda?
No. I liked him as Barry Windham's tag team partner, Mike Rotunda.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
The U.S. Express.
They were definitely good, but yeah, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I think they could have kind of not done the IRS gimmick, just Michael Wall Street.
I don't understand it. Like I'm 11. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't.
He wears suspenders to the ring and a tie. It's weird. And he used to not wear pants. He used to wear brown fucking tights, and it looked stupid. So they finally put him in dress pants.
And he wore a tie. I mean, it's just weird. It's just.
He wore a tie. Should have been a clip-on though. They could have done they did spots with the tie every once in a while, but you have the clip-on. Like he gets smart. Like they're gonna try to choke him with the tie and take the.
But at this time, I mean, you were a fan of the 1, 2, 3 Kid, back in the day. I mean, did you think that he was gonna rise to the stardom that he would? I mean,
I'm 11, so yeah, I think he's gonna be Intercontinental Champion.
Well,
there's no reason not for me to think that. I don't know that Vince loves fucking gassed up monsters because I'm 11.
Oh, he loves.
I thought like, oh, this guy is awesome. He's actually really big. If he was on the roster today, he would be one of the bigger guys on the roster. He's like 6'1". Yeah. 6'1", probably. If I had to guess, he's probably 215, maybe.
Oh, back then.
Yeah. 212 was his build weight, so probably close to 200.
I mean, it was a good match. I mean, a match that was not good. I mean, I don't know why they put Bret Hart taking on Doink the Clown with Jerry Lawler. I mean,
Well, I know why, because Lawler was trying to get out of the match with Brett.
yeah.
That's the whole concept. It's like, oh, we gotta fight Doink, and then you gotta fight me, and then they do. I feel bad for Brett. I feel bad for Brett, and I feel bad for Lawler. Brett's clearly not the top guy anymore. Jerry Lawler is not the Jerry Lawler from Memphis, and which made me very disappointed because I had watched Jerry Lawler beat Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, so I thought when he came in the WWF that he's going to be the world champion because I watched him beat everyone all the time, not knowing that he owned half of Memphis. Yeah. So it's okay. I mean, eventually, you would have this feud would last on and off until like SummerSlam '95 until they have the Kiss My Foot match.
Yeah,
which is
any of those kind of gimmick matches like that are kind of gross, but
like Lawler here again, he has his like fucking joke book and shit, which is with his lame ass jokes. Like he's not Lawler in Memphis, and unless he's talking about the Hart, Stu and Helen Hart, that's fucking hilarious. But everything else is lame. Like right before this pay-per-view, he does the thing with Tiny Tim and he breaks the ukulele, and that shit's all fucking lame. Lame.
Okay, you know what was not lame? I mean, you may have disagreed with me, but the whole Andy Kaufman stuff, I mean.
No, that's fucking awesome. That's fucking dope as fuck, bro.
Yeah, I mean, but that was vintage Jerry Lawler right there. But when he was in the WWF at this time, I was just like...
I know he is part-time. I know he's still in Memphis. And his Memphis stuff, I think, in the early 90s was suffering also. This is not 1984 Lawler here. Like, Lawler's still good in Memphis because he's in Memphis, but his WWF shit until he I never liked Lawler in the WWF at all. But I was rooting for him to beat The Miz for the WWF Championship that one time with that ladder match. But like Lawler on commentary was okay. I think he's overrated on commentary. Like he's very Attitude Era-ish, puppies type shit, right? And when you watch a couple of like 1998 pay-per-views, that's kind of grating after a while. To be honest, it's like again. But he's a good guy to have for Jim Ross. Like they complemented each other very well. And I don't think Jim Ross made adjustments. He made those adjustments when he was with Jerry Lawler. Because prior to this, even in WWE, he was very much WCW Mid-South. Jim Ross talking about, so went to, the Night Stalker here. He went to Texas Tech University, and he's the fucking Night Stalker. He didn't go to no fucking college. The fuck you talking about, Jim Ross? Oh,
God.
Like, did he have the Night Stalker on the back of his fucking jersey? Like, what the fuck was that? Night Stalker being Brian Clark, also known as Adam Bomb, who debuted right before this pay-per-view also. He had the green eyes and the Atom Smasher, and he's managed by our good friend, Johnny Polo.
Oh, the great Johnny Polo. That was, yeah. I mean...
I love Scotty the Body in Portland.
Yeah, I mean, were you a big fan of Ravens? Are you still a big fan of Raven?
I like Raven. I like Raven's resurgence when in Ring of Honor, in the early days of Ring of Honor. And I like fucking Scotty Flamingo, WCW. Like I liked all his incarnations. To be completely honest, like Johnny Polo, Scotty Flamingo was more like how he normally is. Like he's not like he tells like all these bad dad jokes and shit like that. He fancies himself as a comedian. And he is a really funny, like he's not like super brooding, like depressed, Raven. He's more, to me, he's more fucking Scotty Flamingo than fucking Raven.
I mean, the next match we had Jerry Lawler taking on Bret Hitman Hart. I mean, they had Bret wrestle 2 matches in a row.
Yeah, they put fucking Lawler in the fucking sharpshooter, and then Bret refused to break it. And that's why Jerry Lawler won.
Oh God, Jerry Lawler, he just should not have been in the ring at the time. And
no, he can still go. If they would have been like a straight up match between him and Brett, like a heat getting like, hey, this is Jerry Lawler versus Dutch Mantel, but we're just substituting Bret Hart for Dutch Mantel would have been fine. But it's very, WWF, especially 1983, 1984, 1995, Jerry Lawler is really like he's using his shtick as a crutch for a lot of this shit, and it doesn't hold up well, and it's not good.
I mean, I don't know. The next match just had a guy who I'm not a fan of, Ludwig Borga. No,
Ludwig Borga?
Taking out Marty Jannetty.
You mean Brock Lesnar's father?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of him. I don't know why. I just
like he looks just like fucking Brock Lesnar.
God, I hate Brock Lesnar. I hate him even more than I hate Virgil. But that's that point. Yeah.
Really? And you never even met Brock. You met Virgil.
Yeah. I mean,
especially in the shower.
Whoa.
You're gonna sit here. You're gonna tell me that you never hung out with Virgil in the shower. Hey, you're a fucking liar.
Hey, I told you that's rumor and innuendo, and there's no videotape of it anymore. So just saying. Anyway, but I mean, what were your thoughts on Ludwig Borg?
Fucking great look. Terrible wrestler.
It's a great look if you're into guys, but I'm
not. He's not a pretty boy, right? He looks like a thinned out Brock Lesnar. And he had the shoot fighter gimmick going at this time, which is very revolutionary, I guess. And he did do stuff in Japan and stuff like that, which sometimes when we watch, Hulk Hogan is much better in Japan. Ludwig Borga is not much better in Japan. So he had a good look. He never really got it together in terms of in-ring, ability. That was necessary for him to be a main eventer. If he got it together, he would have been a main eventer in WWF for sure, just based on his look alone. Beats the shit out of Marty Jannetty. He did this cool thing. He did an overhead toss into the fucking uppercut to the gut, which I really like that maneuver. It's really cool looking. But yeah, he basically squashed Jannetty, and they're looking at him right now as a possible opponent for WWF World Champion Lex Luger.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
No, but I mean. Kind of a little known fact, he actually became a politician. He did.
He did. He's also dead.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like most old wrestlers, they seem to die horrible deaths, but it's just beside the point.
Yeah, I mean, he died at 47 and shot himself. So
well, I mean, what can I say? I mean, he didn't get that push, so he decided. Actually, he wasn't kind of in a. I mean, he was kind of in a push, main event push after SummerSlam. I mean, with Luger.
Yeah, I mean, especially going into Survivor Series. Yeah, but he had the Benoit syndrome apparently, so shot himself. Not to get dark.
God, I mean,
the CTE is fucked up.
I mean, I don't know, the whole Chris Benoit thing is just kind of sad because I've always said it, great wrestler. But whenever I see his matches, you can only think about it, him killing himself. I
haven't watched WWE regularly since then. Like I follow wrestling. I watch an occasional Raw. I watch a pay-per-view. But when the Benoit, like I just had my son too, so I couldn't even imagine doing that to your son, right? So. Yeah, at that point, I stopped watching wrestling on a weekly basis. I used to watch Monday Night Raw every week, SmackDown every week, like from 1997 through 2006 or 2007, whenever this happened. 2007, I think it was. I'd watch straight through every week, and after that, I couldn't watch it every week anymore. And there was I would catch CM Punk stuff. That was it.
Oh,
for a while.
CM Punk, the man who will probably never come back, but. We'll see, but yeah, man.
He's coming back. He's gonna wrestle. He's gonna do independent shows.
Yeah, God, this next match had the Undertaker with Paul Bearer taking on. Oh God, the world's worst wrestler, Giant Gonzalez, with Harvey Whippleman.
You think he's worse than Khali?
No. Great Khali is just awkward and just.
So you think Giant Gonzalez is better than Great Khali?
A little, not much.
You think he's better than Giant Silva?
I don't know. I mean, he was not.
You know who
No.
Giant Silver is?
You could have made that guy's
Okay.
name up, and I would have agreed. I have no idea who the fuck that.
Giant Silver he wrestled in Japan.
Sounds
He
like
also
something you
was
can get
the goofy.
sleeping around.
He was, remember the oddities? This Attitude Era oddities, Luna, fucking Earthquake underneath a mass as Golga, Kurgan, and then they had the Giant Silver.
Maybe that was a time that I didn't watch.
ICP.
No. Oh, and Insane Clown Posse.
Are you a
I'm a
Juggalo?
But I mean,
You think a Juggalo
Oh,
is nuts? Is what
hey.
you do.
hey. This is a family. No, maybe not. I mean, the Undertaker.
Not work.
I mean, what were your thoughts on Undertaker in '94? Or I mean '93.
Undertaker is in the Ultimate Warrior
Yeah.
spot. Undertaker's in the Ultimate Warrior spot. Ultimate Warrior didn't leave the WWF. He'd be fighting a Giant Gonzalez. The Undertaker's longevity is due to the fact that he was fighting whatever fucking creature or monster that they could find, and that's what the Warrior would have been doing if he didn't quit, get fired. So yeah, Undertaker is facing your Giant Gonzalez's and your Kamalas and your King Kong Bundys and your Nails and all your weirdos for a while until they figured out, oh shit, he can actually fucking work. Let's put him in the ring with someone that can actually go. So eventually we get to Bret Hart matches and Shawn Michaels matches.
Yep, and
Yo, that fucking the first Hell in a Cell is a fucking dope ass fucking match. I think that's the first time when you realize, oh, fucking Taker can go.
and all these years later, he's still wrestling.
Oh, he's still fucking going, and they just need to let him rest in peace.
Yeah,
For real. What do you think he's making per shot? Because I know he's not on a
lot.
contract.
I
What do you think
know.
he's making per shot? You think it's over $100,000 a match?
I think more than that,
Fucking
but
man.
I could be wrong. But I mean, people still love the Undertaker. They hear that music.
How much more money do you need, bro?
I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, being a wrestler is kind of like a disease.
I know it's like fucking herpes. Like once you think it's out of your system, it comes
it's
right
kind of like, I
fucking
mean, it's
back.
kind of on a smaller note, like
I mean, because you smaller no
ring announcing. I'm just like, every time I get out of it, and then someone says, "Hey, you want to do it again?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" And it's just it's like a drug. It's like a disease, which
Like crack.
yes, it's like crack,
What do you think Jake liked better, wrestling or crack?
crack. But speaking
I
of
think so, too.
of wrestlers that I don't think you're a fan of, a guy. A wrestler, former wrestler from the WWE, showed up at a Georgia promotion this past Friday. It was the former Big Cass. He showed up at an indie show that Jake the Snake Roberts was on. But
I don't mind Big Cass. Enzo's
Enzo's a fucking idiot.
Enzo reminds me of every bad New York stereotype.
Is he like every bad stereotype of New York, or is it overblown?
Yeah, no, there's not many people in New York who are like Enzo, but every negative quality that people associate with New Yorkers, Enzo has. And he gets in verbal arguments with Joey Janela at Blink-182 concerts. Why the fuck is Enzo at a Blink-182 concert? It seems like not his scene.
I mean, I don't know.
I went to a Blink-182 concert. I think it was like 2002 or some shit. It was at the at Jones Beach here in Long Island. It's pretty good. Cypress Hill was there too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if his shtick is, kind of like I always talk about Virgil, about how he's an asshole. Do you think that he is kind of living the gimmick? It's like people expect.
I think that's him. I don't think. I've never heard anyone say, "Oh, fucking Enzo, he's fucking cool as shit." Like, no, everyone that fucking ever dealt with him is like, this is how he is.
He's a total piece of shit.
He's a tool
I
bag.
mean, hey.
But surprisingly enough, again, I told you this at WrestleCon, fucking big line for Enzo. I was surprised. I was shocked because you had a lot of Smarty fans in there for WrestleMania weekend. I figured, it wasn't like Joey Ryan's line. I thought that would be much bigger, and it wasn't big at all. Like Enzo had a bigger line than Joey Ryan.
Yeah, you were in that line too, weren't you?
Not the Joe. I was next to him in the really long line for Tessa Blanchard.
Oh, good.
Who smells like vanilla and cotton
She
candy.
is all the way
Excellent.
live. She is
Not to
all
be
the way
creepy,
live.
though. Not to
Holy
be
shit.
I'm just saying she smelled.
And she's super nice. That's, you know, man.
No, because it's like, and it made it more distinct because wrestling fans don't like to wash time to time. Not those who listen to this show or those who I know personally, because you guys take showers. But the ones I often see at live events and conventions, for some reason, I don't know, they soap. I don't know. They were in the hotel because I used the ones in the hotel. They were pretty
Yeah.
good. So I don't know what happened. So like when you smell someone who doesn't smell like armpit and ass, and she smelled like cotton candy and vanilla, it really stood out.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, yeah, I was surprised. I mean, you didn't smell weird. It was, I mean,
No, because I fucking dude. I not only do I shower, I shower twice a day because I'm obnoxious.
that's beside the point. But
Brush my teeth 4 times, shower
I
twice.
brush my teeth once and shower 9.
You don't brush your teeth
no.
after meals?
Not right after
Why
meals.
not?
Like if I'm at a
no,
fucking
but
restaurant,
like,
I don't go, well, let me go to the bathroom
of
and brush.
course. I mean, there's the pocket ones. There's the pocket little toothbrush things that you could use. I don't go take it that far. But if I go out to a restaurant and I'm back home in 45 minutes or an hour, I'll go upstairs and fucking brush my teeth
no,
every once in a while.
I don't. So,
Maybe because I'm a smoker.
yeah, that.
I do that too. 'Cause I don't like smoke smell, and I smoke, so I'm really like insane with that.
Do you hate yourself? You're like, well,
that's a
God,
whole-
I hate the smell of smoke, but
Most people will tell me I don't smell like smoke,
what do they tell you smell like? What do they
and
tell
they
you
actually
smell
very, like Michael Jordan cologne and shame historically.
like? I mean, what?
I still wear Michael Jordan cologne. It's still available. You can buy it on
You can buy
Amazon.
anything on Amazon.
It's orange, citrus, and some sort of wood is the actual fragrance of Michael Jordan's cologne.
Oh,
from the
I want
90s
to smell like
that's
citrus
still
and
available.
wood. That just, yeah.
Well, like wood shavings. Like, come on. Like, you probably, what do you wear? Cool water? You're a cool water man? You buy that from your local CVS?
I don't
What
wear.
do
I
you
don't
wear?
wear cologne.
Well, we know that because you smell like fucking armpit and ass. That's why.
Well,
But, you probably wear the cool water, right? Or the Stetson. You're a Stetson man. English
I
leather.
mean, what can I?
High karate.
Actually, it was funny. It's funny. NASCAR makes I'm a big NASCAR fan, and yes,
Are you? You like watching people drive in
I
circles?
do. I watching,
Doing left
grown men
turns?
drive in cars. That's beside the point. They made a Daytona 500 smelling cologne. I didn't buy
It smell like gasoline and fucking
it burnt
exhaust.
rubber, but that's uh,
Yo, I want to get that fucking nitro cologne.
what did that smell like?
I don't know, but I don't know what nitro cologne smelled like, but it's WCW cologne. Surprised they never fucking made arrogance
That would have been
as
I
a
mean,
product.
if
That
they,
would've been awesome.
did it now, I think if they
Oh, they should. They fucking definitely
now, I
should.
mean, people would buy that and put it in a bottle that kind of looked like it'd be a bigger bottle, like
Atomizer, like that'd be fucking awesome.
yeah. I don't know what nitro would smell like. I mean, would it smell like?
I don't know.
I don't know the girls that
Like
the
fish
girls that
off
go home with
feet.
wrestlers. I don't know. So, but,
Rats.
oh God, we could anyway. We won't talk about that. That's on the Patreon show if you want to hear about that. But the next match we had the Smoking Guns, Bart Gunn, Billy Gunn taking on Tatanka, Bam Bam Bigelow, and the Head Shrinkers with Alpha and Luna Vachon in a 6-man tag team match. Your thoughts?
Isn't it weird that not to be whatever the fuck?
Not to
I
be
don't give a
weird.
fuck. You think it's weird to have Cowboys and Indians on the same team?
Yeah,
Right? That's weird.
that is.
And then you have like there's a bunch of different stereotypes here. So you have your prototypical cowboys, you have your Native American, and then you have your island savages on one side, and then you have Bam Bam Bigelow with his head tattoo.
I mean, I want to get a tattoo just like Bam Bam. It's his head. That'd be
Do
awesome.
you? Yeah, I mean, you definitely have the head for it.
And speaking of looking up stuff,
Speaking of head, Luna Vachon.
I did look her up. I looked at some pictures of her because you said that she was attractive with that.
Without all the shit, yeah, like when
Yeah,
she's not a
she's
monster.
definitely yeah, she was
She can get it. She's
like you say, not for nothing. She was
All the way.
she was good looking. So
She, yeah, she can get she can go 60 minutes with the champ.
She could ride Space Mountain, I'm sure. So,
Who else can ride Space Mountain? Fucking Alpha.
no, yeah,
Alpha trained Batista.
I did not know
you
that, but you need to. Have you ever ridden Space Mountain?
I have ridden Space
It's
Mountain.
it's very fast, and it's kind of like anyway, that's
It's a roller coaster inside.
in the dark.
Dark.
And I know you're.
Which is good. Which makes, I think in some cases makes it less scary because you don't see the fucking pavement that if you're gonna fly off, you're gonna crash into. So in a lot of ways, it's not as scary as say as Scream Machine at fucking Great Adventure.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
or Nitro or Viper or whatever it's called. King the Ka. We have King the Ka now.
man, you know what? I've decided. I know what I'm gonna get you for your birthday.
Pocket pussy?
No, I'm gonna get.
Flashlight?
No, I'm gonna get you some oil for your
Okay.
chair. Just saying. But
Hey,
What?
fuckface. You have two choices: this fucking chair or the wooden chair right next to me, which also makes wooden
what
chair
the fuck
noises.
is wooden chair noises?
You ever fucking sat in a
No.
wooden chair? It fucking
No,
creaks.
Who the hell sits in?
It creaks more than fucking this one.
Okay.
Do you have wooden chairs in your house? Like, what do you sit on? Fucking beanbags?
No,
don't
I
understand.
sit on a sofa.
You do this
No,
on a sofa?
I'm currently sitting.
Is it a pull-out
Oh,
sofa?
I don't pull out.
Do you know how to pull out? Yeah.
Oh, I have a kid.
Set you up for that.
That's beside the point. No, I'm sitting in the Retro Wrestling Rewind massive studios here in Atlanta, Georgia, Battery, USA, home of the greatest rock and fucking roll band of all time, the fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes. Just wanted to say that they are rock stars.
They're not rock stars.
Speaking of rock stars, you would.
We're talking about Mad Mountain Rock. Remember that WWF guitar? That was
Speaking
cool.
of, kind of going on a different note, WCW. What was the guy with the guitar?
That's Max Payne. That's Mad Mountain Rock. That's what I was talking about.
They changed it.
Remember he took the blaster from Johnny Bad and fucking hit him in the face with it? Like he fucking blasted him in the face with his load?
Oh, God. Speaking.
Then Johnny Bad had to wear this mask thing for a while?
Speaking of guys who had a great run and then just they dropped the ball, Lex Luger. You know, I mean.
He failed America.
And he killed Miss Elizabeth.
Wow. You're not wrong, but wow.
I mean, hey, I think if he hears this episode, he will not want to be on the podcast. I'm just saying.
Well, I think he admits that now. But
what that he doesn't want to be on the podcast, or that he killed Miss Elizabeth?
He was involved. I mean, I think he takes accountability for some of that shit.
I don't know. There's just so many people that are dead that how wrestling would have been better if say Miss Elizabeth had died, if Bobby Heenan hadn't died, if Bobby Heenan had been able to talk in the end of his life.
Imagine a Bobby Heenan podcast right now.
He would be the number one
nuts.
podcast ever. It would be number one on. It would be number one on every chart in the history of podcasts. It would just be awesome. I don't know. It just kind of sucked that he got cancer. Yeah, cancer sucks.
Yeah. Guys, check out.
My penis.
No, we won't do that. You need a magnifying glass for that shit. Check out one of Bobby's final interviews, where like before he loses kind of his vocal cords, he does an RF video shoot interview, which I suggest.
I will check that out. But I mean, what were your thoughts? I mean, Luger defeating Yokozuna.
He failed America. He failed himself. He failed everyone. This destroyed his push. Destroyed what he was going to be in the WWF. And, it's not Luger's fault that this happened. There's nowhere in fuck's sake that they're going to put the belt on WrestleMania 10. It makes no fucking sense. It's much like having Hogan come in and he's going to wrestle the Iron Sheik and win by fucking count out. You don't do that dumb shit. You have him go over. fucking go over. He beats fucking Yoko, and then figure it out after that. But to have you wasted all that time, you wasted that money on that fucking bus,
That broke down.
and you wasted all this money on TV time for someone who you're going to give this push to and not finish it. Fucking finish it. Have him win the belt and then figure it out afterwards. Even if he drops the belt the next night on fucking Raw or something.
Okay, so
he has to win here. He looks like a doofus, riding on the shoulders of the Steiners with the balloons coming down, and he wins by fucking count out.
Yeah, I mean, do you actually the bus, the Lex Express? Do you think it actually went around the country? Did it actually go around the country?
Yeah, it did. It did. Watch the documentary on the
Lex Express
on the network.
I will definitely watch that. But
you can tell that Lex Luger hated every fucking minute of that shit.
You think he hated kind of the gimmick that they kind of put him in?
Yeah, Lex Luger's not at the time. Lex is a changed man. That's why we can rip him. We can rip him a little bit because he's a changed man. He'll forgive us.
He's found Jesus,
right? Yeah, so he'll forgive us. But you could tell that he didn't enjoy the fans. He didn't have an appreciation for the fans. I don't think he had appreciation for the push that he was given. I don't think he had an understanding of, he got the first big time contract, first big time guaranteed contract in professional wrestling. Always made money since day one in wrestling. He didn't really have to pay dues. He was the Steve Austin eating cans of fucking tuna fish to survive on in Memphis. He came in with a big push. So I think when it came down to winning the WWF Championship, I don't think he necessarily enjoyed himself. I think he would say this himself that he didn't, have an appreciation or hey, I'm going to go cross country here. Now he wasn't on the bus a lot of the times. He would fly and meet the bus at the airport, and then they would go around town or whatever. But was Luger the guy in '93 to replace Hogan? I don't think Hogan can be replaced. And that's why you go with a Bret Hart. Or you could have gone with, I don't know if you're going to have the former drug dealing Razor Ramon as your world champion. Luger, if Luger was total package Lex Luger, babyface total package Lex Luger, he probably gets a shot. But the gimmick was just way too over the top. And it's funny now because you see Luger for those 2 years, because he left in '95. Still in that gimmick. And then no character development whatsoever. Nothing. Then you see him back in WCW, and he's wearing the black trunks. And that's the Lex I remember. And it's a damn shame because Lex Luger, from a kayfabe career standpoint, never got that win over Flair for the WCW title. Now, he did win it, but he beat Barry. And he never won the WWF Championship. And I think those are very much black marks against him in terms of you're looking at his career in terms of kayfabe. So he never won the big one. And eventually, he did beat Hogan on probably one of the best episodes of Nitro ever. But he still never beat. I don't think he ever beat Flair for that title.
I mean, it was kind of a shame. I mean, they were pushing him big in NWA. I mean, before. I
think people. He got better. He got really he was really good. Luger 89-90, and then Luger 95 into 96. Those are 4 really good years for Luger. The rest of the time is not the greatest.
Not the best.
But no, neither was the Ultimate Warrior. Neither is the 1,000 guys. He's a better worker than Warrior for sure.
I mean, and kind of an overall grade on this show. I mean, once you.
Let's see. How many good matches were on this show?
One.
Which one was that? DiBiase.
I mean, Razor DiBiase. I mean,
Razor DiBiase. They went fucking 18 minutes with Luger and Yoko too. That's way too long for those guys. So I'd give it a 5.
Yeah, I'd give it probably a 6.
Go watch. No, don't watch this pay-per-view. Watch the 6 weeks of TV before this pay-per-view. It's actually really, really good. And you get this really disappointing pay-per-view.
I mean,
you get the debut of Men on the Mission. I'm not being facetious. It's fun. They took their time with that.
Speaking of, I mean, I don't really call it.
they're
I
on
don't
a
really call it disappointing, but the show that we're covering next week is ECW's November to Remember 1995. I mean, it was, yeah.
It's ECW 1995. ECW 1995, 1996, I consider the peak of their creativity. ECW is funny because they have like different eras, but they're very short because they weren't around for very long. Heck, TNA's been around longer than they were. But you have your Eastern Championship Wrestling era. You have this 90, 95, 96 era. You have the Shane Douglas like 97, 98, 99 era. And then you have like we're about to close era of like 2000, 2001. Like where like Carino and Justin Credible are on top. So they're very different, but I think creatively, and then in terms of having an effect on the wrestling culture, the peak is 95 and 96. So.
Yeah, it was definitely not I wasn't a big ECW fan, but that's.
Did you get ECW?
We
What
didn't
channel
get
did you get it on?
Nope.
At all. Like here, it was on the MSG network. The first thing I remember seeing in ECW were the Steiner Brothers. So I'm flipping the channels like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I see the Steiner Brothers and like Eddie Guerrero. I'm like, what the? Here's where the Steiners went. What the fuck is this? And like a couple of weeks or a month or two later, I see Steve Austin, and again, big WCW guy. So I see the Steiner Brothers and I see Steve Austin. I'm gonna watch whatever show this is, and then I'm like, this is so fucking bananas.
Yeah, but yeah.
Because when you watch the straight up, we're watching literally the full show, and there's no promos on this show. There's no interviews on this show, really. There's no hype on this show, so it's very plain. Like, if you're going to watch ECW, probably the preferred method is, look at whatever show you want to watch, say Hostile City Showdown, and then watch the 4 TV shows that happen after it. Because they show the matches on TV. It's just in the ECW TV show, which the ECW TV show at the time was fucking really good.
Yeah,
So that's probably the preferred method of doing it. But to review a show, you gotta watch the whole thing because they edit the fuck out of those matches. So for you to get a view of like the overall show, you have to watch literally like the raw show.
Yeah, but we'll be covering that next week. But for the great Alex G. As always, I'm David Fine. We will see you back here next week where we cover ECW's November to Remember 1995. Like I always say, we'll talk to you in the past.
238 pounds in the black corner. From St. Louis,
Here comes Mr. Pro.
Andre the Giant.
Gonna get his legs in on the bruiser. Hulk Hogan.
Number 1, the greatest WWE champion of all time, and in many ways, the man who made the title what it is today, Bruno Sammartino.
his opponent weighing 236 pounds in the white corner. From Van Nuys, California.